Hello, this is Julie. Today I'd like to show you how to create a 3D decoupage design using Make the Cut. We'll start with something simple and we'll move on to in another video to something a little more complex, but in this video the idea is to show you the concept of how to create a 3D design. So to begin with, we're going to click at the top toolbar on the icon that looks like a tic-tac-toe. This is the import from Gallery. In this gallery we'll find over 11,000 images. Today we're just going to search for flowers. I click descending, 9 items per page, and then search. And I look through these just to find something that might work for a simple decoupage designs. You can look through here. Right now I'm looking for something with not too many parts and that might layer well for a 3D decoupage design. I like this flowers design just because it's simple. So to get this onto my virtual mat, I'm going to click on download, and now I have the design on my page. So I'll close the gallery, and this is a pretty large design. We'll work with it at this size, but we can resize it. Right now when I click around, you notice nothing is selected. That's because everything is locked by the person who posted the design. So to unlock it, move to the lower right corner of the screen where you see a gold lock icon and click on that and select Unlock All. Now you notice that we can select portions of the designs as shown by the blue bounding box when I select. This is what we'll want the design to look like when it's done, except we want to have multiple layers. So what I want to do first is remove the top piece, because that'll be the top layer. I'm going to click on the yellow here, and they're all grouped together already, and that'll be my top layer. But I'm going to undo that, and before I start removing things, I'm going to select all and do Control Shift and drag off a copy for me to use later as I make these changes. So again, the top piece first will be the yellow. I'll move them aside here. The next piece of the design would be the top piece plus the second piece, or the second layer, which would be the orange layer. Well, I already moved away the top layer, so I'm going to undo that again, and this time I'm going to hold Control and Shift, drag the yellow away so that I have it still over here, but I have the pieces separate, because the next layer is going to include both the yellow and the orange. So I'm going to hold the Shift key, click on the yellow, and click on the orange, hold Control and Shift and drag, and so now I have another layer. However, there's extra cutting lines in this that I would not want to cut, and I'll show you that by going to Outline, and you'll see that every place where there's a line this would cut, and I don't want to cut insides out. What I want is the bigger pieces. So what I do in that instance is I select all of these, then I go to the fourth icon from the right on the bottom, which is shadow layer. You can access that by typing Control plus H, and I'm going to make a shadow width about 0.08. You can make that whatever you would like, but the idea is that it will create solid pieces with no insides, and to do that I select it all, including the layer that I just did, and I'm going to come down here to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th icon on the bottom toolbar, which is called Texture Snapshot. You can use Control+1 if you'd rather use a shortcut key. Now what happened to this when I clicked that, you can see in the outline that it is now the flowers are just one piece each, so that there's no inside lines. So when this cuts, it's going to cut on those lines. When you print it, you print the full color. The next step would be to take the third part that I would like to have as a layer, and that would be these leaves. So I'm going to do Control Shift and drag to get another copy of this. Now when I do this, I would really not like to have the tiny little pieces to have to layer. So to take care of those, I click on Split, fifth icon from the left on the bottom toolbar, and I'm just going to take away these tiny little pieces and select the leaves, and again add that shadow 0.08 just so that it's not going to be cutting all that inside detail. And now that I have that selected, again I'm going to do a texture snapshot, and we'll look at it to see that we've got just the outline of the leaves. That makes it cleaner, makes a nice print. Now the next layer that I'd like to do is to include the flowers, the yellow center, and the leaves. So I'll select those holding the shift. Yellow, orange, and green, and hold Control Shift and drag these away. And on these again, I'm going to add the shadow so it makes it all one piece. I have here blackout and auto simplify path, auto simplify output selected so that I don't get any little holes that I don't want in there. And with it all selected, again, texture snapshot, so that when I again go to the outline, I see that I just have one cutting line around the whole outside. So now I have one more layer, which is already done for me pretty much, which is the black layer behind it. If you want to use that as a layer, you could just use this, but I think the black gives it a nice outside line. So I'm going to click the black layer, Control Shift, and drag this out. So now what I have is I have a black layer. Then on top of this I would have all the colors, and what I'm going to do is send this black layer to the top by clicking on the smaller of the two green plus icons in the lower right corner. So that sends this design up to the top. Now I'm going to select the next layer and send it to the top, and then I'm going to just kind of put it over here so you can see what it might look like when we glue the layers together. Next I'm going to get this part of the design, just the flowers, send it to its own layer and drag it over my design. Get the leaves, send it to its own layer, drag it here, they can be glued on. They don't overlap the flowers, so they could be glued on the same layer, probably would be. Then I take the flower centers, send them to their own layer, and bring them over. And you'd use pop dots in between each one of these layers to make a 3D design. So we have all of our pieces here. Now these, I'll show you the difference between this on the bottom. Here we have several cutting layers, but here we have all the different pieces for paper piecing. So this was designed for a paper piece project or a print and cut. You could just simply print the complete design as that appears, or you could print this whole thing. But what we really want to do is we want to print the layers now and you can arrange them on your screen as you like and resize. So we have the centers, the flowers, the leaves, the background, and all of the colors layered together. So these would be your decoupage layers, and I think I would resize these. The rest of the design I'm just going to hide. I like to save my pieces for future reference in case I want to change anything. But there are some empty layers here. I'm going to click the trash can to get rid of those. And now I just want to hide these layers here that are on the bottom, because I don't need to use those right now. What I want to do is select all, Control A, and move these to my page. If I print 12 by 12, I could fit all these on one, but ideally I would want to arrange these so that they would print maybe on an 8.5 by 11 page, so you can kind of move things around and see if you can get them all to fit. You could rotate. Doesn't have to be the same angle as their final placement. So we can print this if you have a 12 by 12 page, or you might want to just you could go to File and Print Setup, Print Options, I think it is, File, Print Options, and you can show the paper on the mat. If you're using 8.5 by 11, it'll show that. And then print registration marks. If your cutter uses registration marks, you could use a silhouette, cameo, or the regular registration marks for Make the Cut, or you could just export this and import it into your favorite cutting software. So once I select these, you see what the page outlines are, so you can see that we probably wouldn't be able to fit everything on a page. We could fit all of these on one. And then we would go to print. I'll show you print preview. And I see we cut off a little bit of that flower here, so I would want to make sure that everything that I want to see is showing sorry, in the print preview. So we go to File, Print Preview, and there we go. You see that there's registration marks there. All this would print out, and you also have the cutting lines. To see the cutting lines again, we could go to Outline here, and we have cutting lines. So once we get it printed, then we can send it to cut on our cutter, and we would be able to cut it. And we'd probably send this to a different page, which we can do simply by selecting its layer down here, right-clicking on New Layer and Selected Layer to its own page, and that'll open up a new page and put it over there. So then we could do that page. So this is how we would do a decoupage page using Make the Cut. It's very simple, and you'll notice that all of these pieces were, it was a paper piecing design, so all the pieces were already there. It's pretty easy to create a layered project using any of the thousands of paper piecing projects that we have in the gallery, or those that you create yourself. So I hope this was helpful, and if we need to, I can show you how to break up a flat picture image to produce a paper piecing design that you can then layer. Thanks for watching.